They landed us at Baghdad. Helicopter took off, got blown out of the sky, all dead. Those left and right moments, you think, how many times had I turned left could it have gone south and I wouldn't be here today? He said to me, Steve, I'm just an ordinary man doing extraordinary things. And I absolutely cracked up laughing at it. But the more I thought about it and broke it down, it's kind of like true. We were the only guys that had all the high-powered weapons, all the sniper rifles and all the gear to be able to go and get rid of a problem crocodile. Wanted to be a dad in my kids' life, in their lives, so made that sacrifice just to be with them. And so transition away, but I was lost. I was really, really lost.
I want to dive into a phase of the show called 5 questions and 5 answers.
Yep. I'm completely unprepared for this.
Mate, but I love that. I think sometimes the best ones are the unprepared ones. This is almost a beautiful conclusion to a great conversation, incredible story told. It is potentially the trailer where people are first hearing of your story and then might go on to listen to the full episode because this is released, as you would know, as 2 separates. But I want to dive into this, and the first question is there one book or one podcast that you'd recommend to those listening or watching in?
Can I have a book and a podcast?
Go for it.
A great book that I read a few years ago is a book called Shantaram.
Okay, say that again.
Shantaram.
Okay.
A lot of listeners out there would know it. It's an incredible story about resilience, about a guy and it's a story about redemption as well. A guy actually escapes from Pentridge jail, makes his way to India and starts all these little medical clinics over there.
Incredible.
And the richness,
never heard of this.
Mate, you would love it. And the richness that he develops in himself and what he gets back from actually giving something to these shanty towns in building these medical centres from somebody who was a drug addict who escaped from Pentridge jail. It's an amazing story. So, it's inspirational. It means that it's never too late for you. And you know what? Everybody makes mistakes. It's a great book.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think that's a good book that I like.
Beautiful message. I like that.
Yeah. Podcasts, one of your favourites, Jocko Willink. I love him and his book Extreme Ownership.
He's good, isn't he?
About owning your shit. So, I think that's number one.
Jocko is one of those ones where you got to strap in and have a little bit of time up your sleeve.
You do.
They're long, but they're worth it. I would listen to, because there's, commonly 2+ hours, 2 to 4 hours worth of content in each episode.
Yeah, there is.
And you can strap in over the course of a couple gym sessions or your weekly commute and just sort of pick up where you left off. There's so many gems.
A lot of his messages are really simple though.
They're practical, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's powerful.
And you can apply them to any area of life. So, I like Jocko.
Mate, I love that. Number 2 is, I'm actually going to develop this question a little bit from weeks of past because I think it's important. A skill you'd recommend mastering or an attribute you'd recommend developing that significantly improved your life?
Critical thinking. I say that because I haven't heard this term until I went to a conference not long ago, the balcony view. Jocko talks about it in terms of, he says, detach. So what I'm saying there is absorb everything and make your own decisions on things. A lot of people have respect for a lot of people out there, whether it be famous people they follow on Instagram or something like that. But back yourself and make your own decision. Break things down and think about it for yourself, because I just think there's just not enough of that going on at the moment. Have a balcony view, detach yourself and look at what's really going on. And make your own mind up on things once you've actually assessed it and critically thought through everything before you actually formulate an opinion and start voicing that opinion.
Mate, I cannot fucking... I want to put exclamation marks around that. I want people to go back and listen to that. That is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I was speaking to my mates about this recently. I reckon at times I am... What would the word? I am a... You could potentially call it a victim, or I am at the fault of listening to, reading, hearing, digesting so much information or so much outside advice on the way that I should lead my life, that it's almost like the way I refer to it as, remember being a kid at school or, you know, in some sort of adult test, you're sitting down in front of a question on the paper and there are so many answers, potential answers floating around your head that you just don't write anything on the paper.
100%.
Because you're taking it from everyone else. I think some of the best advice that anyone can ever receive or give in life, if it's backed by true intention and you're a good-natured human, is what you said just there. Critical thinking for yourself and almost listening to the gut at
100%,
times.
Yeah. Nothing can be... Your gut is the best thing you can go with.
And because then... And then if you fail or you fuck up, you own your mistakes. As Jocko says, extreme ownership. Because when you listen to someone else, it's too easy to pass the buck. Oh, well, Steve told me to go this way with my career and it fucked up, so it's Steve's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Not, I chose to go this way. I own my decisions. I own my mistakes. And then when it pays off, I own my success and my truth. It's like, mate, I can't exclaim what you said enough there. Like, such a good point.
100%.
Number 3, the greatest challenge that you've faced in your life that's required the most growth and resilience to overcome.
Forgiveness. The ability to... it's may even be connected to that second point. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes poor choices. We're all humans, but I feel like a lot of people hold on to that too much and think that they're infallible and they can't make mistakes as well. Some mistakes can be really, really hard, but forgiveness is one of those things that I think that I've had to learn a lot about. Anyone knows me will know traditionally, in the early days I had a scorched earth policy, and I think as I've got older I've matured a lot. I know I've made lots and lots of mistakes, and I think a lot of the deep friendships that I have now are about forgiveness as well, because we all make those mistakes.
I love that.
So that's just what I think that that's being able to forgive and move on. I think that's something that has helped me a lot.
That probably comes via 2 avenues as well, right? Like forgiveness of others and forgiveness of yourself.
I think you're so right there. Yeah, that's so true. And I think I've touched both on that. You know, you've got to forgive yourself and realise that you're human, and likewise with people that might have done some pretty bad things to you or your friends. You know, people do make mistakes, and we're all just humans.
Mate, I think if you looked at in a New Age dictionary, or if I could write one, I think underneath the word human it would be unique beings who fuck up and are not perfect.
100%.
But are trying to figure it out as they go through life.
Yeah. You develop your character from making a lot of mistakes, I think.
For sure.
And that's all part of the journey, right?
And to be fair, if you haven't made them and if you haven't failed, then you probably haven't pushed yourself far enough.
And you're probably in denial as well.
Great point. Great point. Question number 4 is a daily ritual or routine. It could be a morning thing or an evening thing that sets you up for success in your life right now.
Yeah. One of the things on my to-do list, Sarah from Coldale, if you're listening, I will get to your yoga class eventually, is to do yoga. But one of the things that I've found at the moment, getting up before the sun rises and actually meditating. I just find breathing, meditating, closing everything off, it just sets me up for the day. It's a little bit zen and a little bit out there, but I just find it's been pretty helpful for me.
Mate, I need to get better at that. You know, I've had so many of my guests now, you to add to that list, who have recommended it to me. I guess I've never, or maybe once or twice I have, but I've never actually set aside time to meditate in the sense of just breathing early, being still and silent and not occupied by anything. Like, I quite often run solo these days where I can, because I find that as a sense of meditation.
Yeah.
But I think the ability to sit still is an art.
It is, yeah.
And it's a real skill.
Yeah, and I've struggled with it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky I live in a beautiful part, we live in a beautiful
Yeah.
part of the world, and I live right on the beach, and being able to do this so close to the beach early in the mornings and things like that is really good. And you know what, it only takes a few minutes. I find it's a good start to the day.
I'm adding it to the schedule.
Give it a crack.
The fifth and final question, my favourite of the 5, is if you could share one message with the world, with everyone listening or watching, and encourage them to act on it, what would that message be?
The message would be, understand the difference between empathy and sympathy. Really understand what empathy means. Empathy doesn't mean feeling sorry for somebody. Empathy means understanding their situation. And I think that comes back to that, just about understanding people. You know, it can be organisations, it can be companies, it could be where you work, it could be a football team, it could be anything, but understanding what people are going through and making a decision based on that, but just not throwing in blindly about sympathy. And there's a big difference. Actually, there's another podcast, a guy called Marty Moore. He's written a book called No Bullshit Leadership, and he talks about it, and he breaks it down very succinctly. You know, a lot of people are too scared to make decisions because they're going to hurt people's feelings, but often it's the best thing that could happen. But just understanding, a bit more understanding in the world, and empathy, knowing the difference between empathy and sympathy, if that makes sense.
Mate, so beautifully said. Steve, I could sit here, and the biggest challenge for me here today as a host was, and I laughed to myself before you got here today, because I thought, how do I possibly fit this man's journey, or we'll call it a quest because it's open-ended, it's yet to continue, into the space of 1.5 hour podcast episode. And that is the real challenge, because...
A lot of editing, mate.
Mate, you are so... Mate, I take so much inspiration from you. You know, you describe yourself at the start of this episode as an ordinary man doing extraordinary things. You are so humble. I beg to differ. I think you are an extraordinary human being living a life less ordinary. And I just know that so many people who have listened to this or watched this here at whatever point in time they get to it will be inspired by you, will have learnt things from this, as I have, and will want to continue to hear from you in the future. So I'm blessed that I get to do that firsthand as now a friend and connection. But I'm going to make sure that throughout the course of your journey, I'm sharing your stuff and allowing people to continually connect with you. And for all of the avenues and opportunities they have to connect now, I'll make sure that they're in the show notes so they can do so. Mate, it's been an absolute honour and a privilege to have you here on the show. And I'm very blessed that we get to continue to develop a friendship.
Thank you so much, mate. And I've got to tell you, the gift is mine, because such a young bloke, you're such an inspiration to me as well. So it goes both ways. Thanks so much.
Mate, pleasure's all mine. Thank you guys for tuning in, listening, watching. Please go share this with your friends. It isn't a secret. Whilst there's some secret ops stuff in here, it's not a secret. Share this episode around, get around those 5-star ratings and reviews, and follow and subscribe. Helps the show grow, helps us get out to new people. So very thankful for all of you who are here in attendance today. We'll leave you be.